A new debate is rising in the United States, and it is quickly turning emotional, cultural, and political. Well, for years, America has been seen as a major cultural hub, and that too for the Indian community, right? Basically, a place where traditions, where festivals, and where temples have grown alongside professional success. But now, the questions that are being raised about whether this growing presence is facing pushback or not. This is TimesXP's Indian Diaspora with me, Thriti Yatri. Over the last decade, the Indian community in the United States has expanded rapidly. In fact, in cities across states like Texas, California, and New Jersey, Indian professionals have built very strong communities, contributing to the economy and established cultural and religious spaces. Well, if we talk about temples in particular, they have made not just places of worship but also centers of identity, of language, and of community bonding. In fact, one recent Brown report brought fresh attention to this particular issue. Well, a correspondent visited Fresco, that is in North Texas, to understand how fast the Indian population is growing and how that is changing the local environment. According to the report, the demographic shift has been significant. Around 2010, Indians and other Asian communities, they made up roughly about 10% of the population in some areas. Today, in certain parts, that number is said to have crossed 30%, with some schools even seeing a majority of Asian origin students. Now, this rapid changes has naturally made the cultural presence more and more visible. Indian restaurants, festivals like Diwali, traditional clothing, and religious institutions are now a very common sight in neighborhoods that looked very different just a decade ago. In fact, one such place highlighted in the report is the Karya Siddhi Hanuman Temple, which is described as one of the largest Hindu temples in that region. The temple is known as a space where devotees gather for prayers related to health, career growth, and even visa approvals, reflecting the aspirations of a migrant community building a life in a new country. Now, for many Indian families, such places are not just religious sites but emotional anchors that connect them to their roots. However, the same growth it is now triggering mixed reaction here. Some local voices in report express concern about how quick the demographic are changing. They feel that cultural landscape of their neighborhood is shifting faster than they expected, well, raising a lot of questions about identity and adaptation. And at the very same time, members of Indian community see the whole situation very differently, of course. For them, this growth represents hard work, education, contribution. Many believe that Indian professionals are playing a key role in sectors like technology, healthcare, business, and that their presence strengthens the local economy while adding diversity. This contrast of views is where the real story lies. This is not simply about temples or population number. It's about how communities evolve, how cultures interact, and how societies really respond to the change. Well, the report itself is part of a larger documentary project that aims to explore the rise of Indians and other communities in North Texas from a very particular perspective. And like many such discussions, it reflects one side of a much larger and more complex picture. Well, what we are witnessing here, it's not a clear conflict, but a moment of transition maybe, a moment where growth, identity, and perception are all colliding at once.